Iceland, a country known for its natural beauty in the forms of springs, glaciers, and volcanoes. But it also has a very rich history, including some terrifying cryptids and lore, which we'll be discussing today. Now, it may shock you to hear this, but the majority of Iceland's population actually believe elves to be real. Yeah, elves. Now, the elves of Iceland can be a little confusing because there's actually multiple iterations. One is of very tall, blonde, pale humanoid beings, and the other is much smaller stature, fantastical beings. That's right, I was under the impression they were pretty small in stature, but actually the elves known as Huldufolk, or hidden people, are said to be taller, thinner, and more attractive than humans. They are believed to live in or under large rocks, lava fields, and cliffs. Basically anywhere in nature, which makes sense since these creatures are perceived to be protectors of the land, often retaliating against those that mess with nature by damaging equipment or scaring work crews working on roads. Now, you probably think I'm exaggerating, but the Icelandic Coastal and Road Administration has frequently halted many major highway and construction projects because they believe those highways or roads or pathways might be going through areas where elves still reside. And right here we have one of those examples at the Elfstone in what is now downtown Reykjavik. The Reykjavik airport is actually like right over there. You can see the top of one plane, like right there. There's the top of a plane over there. But what resides here now is the Elfstone. I'm not sure how close I can get to walking up to it, but this is the Elfstone, which was actually a section of where they were supposed to build a road. So as you can see, there's a road going right over here, and it comes into here at this hotel. But they went specifically around this stone because it was believed that elves were residing in this stone, and a council member had an elf come to him in his dreams and specifically say to not build at this stone. And then additionally, you can see some people leaving some offerings to the elves here. Looks like some toys, some other rocks, and things like that. But yeah, you can find that even in the downtown capital city, just to show you that these beliefs are still well alive. But before we do our elf investigation, let's see what else Iceland has to offer. One thing I do want to tell you guys, if you guys ever decide to make the trip to Iceland, and I don't want to dissuade anyone, if you use any shower here or faucets or anything that's like water, because there's so much sulfur deposits inside the water and the groundwater of Iceland, it makes all of the showers smell like rotten eggs. So that's just pretty little interesting tidbit that I'm not sure if you guys are privy to, but yeah, if you take a shower, it'll smell like rotten eggs. So, while it may not be a cryptid, we have here an equally interesting specimen unique to Iceland, the Icelandic horse. Look at them, they're all grazing. These horses are the only horse breed that's native to Iceland and have been existing on Iceland for over 1,000 years. That's right, even the Vikings used these horses back in the day. So one thing that you might notice about these horses is that they're much smaller than the average horse, but they're not completely like the size of a pony, but they still kind of have that appearance with like the 2000s punk rock emo hairstyle, as you can see they all have. And then go back over here, you guys can get a visual of some more of them all eating right now. Appearances can be misleading though, as these horses are especially sturdy and resilient, capable of surviving long, severe winters with little food. And they have this neat thing that they can do called a tolt, where they run really fast without making the rider move a lot. It actually looks pretty funny when you see it. I'll show a video of it right here. Also, interestingly enough, due to Iceland being an island and having a lack of equine diseases, if an Icelandic horse leaves Iceland, it can never return back home. The iconic Icelandic buffalo. So there. Now, from going to many people, to many horses, to many birds, you might think, wow, everything in Iceland is so small. Well, this next creature might make you rethink that thought. Lake Lagerflute stretches for 16 miles or 25 kilometers for the locals watching this, making it the longest lake in all of Iceland. Well, that seems fitting considering a legendary creature has been living in this lake since the 1300s, a creature better known as the Lagerflute worm or Lagerflute Historical texts from the 15th century show that in 1345, record keepers and explorers within Iceland first spotted massive humps that looked like mini islands moving through the water of Lake Lagerflute. But that wasn't just a one-off event. Since that time period, sightings have persisted. In 1585, a cartographer, Abraham Artelius, wrote a note next to Lake Lagerflute that reads, "In this lake appears a large serpent, which poses a menace to the inhabitants and appears when some memorable event is imminent." But if that's not enough for you, multiple bishops of Iceland from the 16th and 17th century have accounts of saying there was a giant serpent inside Lake Lagerflute that would make the ground swell and shake. More and more sightings occurred every 50 or so years. Some of the descriptions changed and described the head of the creature resembling more of that of a seal, but what persisted was seeing the humps travel through the lake. But what about modern sightings? No way these are carrying all the way up until now, right? In 1963, a sighting was reported by the head of the Icelandic National Forest Service. Multiple sightings in 1998 by a teacher and her students, and in 1983 telephone contractors spotted a large shifting mass of water where they had just laid down a bunch of cables. When they retrieved them, they were badly torn and damaged in 22 different places. But all of those aren't even the craziest account. In February 2012, video footage was captured at Lake Lagerflute that would make global headlines for what was recorded. Scientists state that explanations for these sightings could be gas bubbles from the lake, debris, or optical illusions from trash. But what do you think it is? I don't seem to be seeing any of that right here in person. So, as you guys can probably tell and maybe hear, it is very windy today. It's causing a lot of waves to be forming in the lake, so not the ideal day to look for a giant water serpent cryptid. I will say at a glance, I don't see any odd shapes or anything out of the ordinary. There are some ducks off here in the distance. They're a little hard to see. I tried to pick them up on the camera, but they're pretty far away, so I don't think I'd get them good on the zoom. But so far, nothing out of the ordinary. But today's like the optimal day for it because it's just basically going to be disguised by all of these waves in the lake. A bunch of iceberg chunks all on the beach. Those are all pieces of iceberg, as you can see. So that's an iceberg right there. Don't mind that guy. And iceberg right there. They all come over here to the beach and break off. People can touch them. like straight from. So I believe these are all giant sulfur deposits. It smells so fucking good. This next cryptid is also massive, but prefers to call the beaches and oceans of the northern coast of Iceland its home, the shell monster, otherwise known as Skelja crimsli. The Skelja crimsli is an ugly creature covered in large rough scales with a giant humpback about the size of a bull. Additionally, the blood of the creature is said to be extremely poisonous, as one man who shot the creature died in a tremendous amount of pain and suffering after some of the blood got on his skin. Many Icelanders know the shell monster is near because of the loud rattling and scraping sound that can be heard when the creature walks due to his plates rubbing on each other, as well as the putrid smell that accompanies him. We're pretty far up the northern coast of Iceland, considering we're in Siglufjordur, which was a herring capital once back in its day, before it got reduced due to overfishing. But we're here because the creature does live primarily on the ocean floor near the coastline. However, during winter months, it is said that it will come out of the water and onto beaches, and even on occasion, try to break into the home of residents nearby as it searches for warmth during the harsh winter of Iceland. And possibly even more terrifying is that this creature is apparently able to produce a light source from its mouth, mimicking the reflection you'd see from the water, like here, which from some accounts have tricked many a sailor into venturing too close before realizing they'd never return ashore ever again. Let's hope that's just the light reflecting. So we're here in Hafnarfjordur, which is widely considered as like the capital of elves and like where all the elves reside in Iceland. We're actually at a park. I'll give you the name of it real quick in a second. I don't remember the top of my head, but apparently a lot of people report seeing elves in this park, but I'm not sure if it's more of like a folktale thing or like actually reported seeing them. So we're here at Helliskerti Park. So what this plaque is basically saying is that you may not realize it, but all around you there are homes and dwellings built into the rocks by the hidden people. Their population is said to be larger than that of all of Northern Europe combined, but unlike humans, they have no need to exploit nature in the same way. They live in harmony with it. And it's basically going on to say that all of the like rocky lava field and little rock outcroppings you see are places where the hidden folk used to live, which are the elves that we came here to look for. So we're going to walk around today and see if we can find any hidden people in the park. And then even here below the no dog sign, you can see that this is the elf circle. So in Iceland, they greet each other by saying like hi, the same way we do. But if you're really emphatic and you're really trying to greet someone like really excited to see them, you say hi hi. And one thing that people claim to be a way to make the elves come out is if you're really quiet and say hi hi next to where you believe elves are residing, you might hear a hi hi back in response. So we'll see if we can get one of those while we go around these little caves and outcroppings. Okay, so you guys see here, this is a pretty nice rock outcropping, so maybe we'll come up here and see like a little cave or a hole. I can see some down here. I'm trying to look for a good one. That doesn't look too bad. I think there might be a better one over here though. Okay, yeah, let's look over here. This looks like a nice little hole. So, hi hi. See if we get a response. Hi hi. I don't see anything moving or hear anything in there. So I did find another hole here. Let's see. It's just weird though, they're supposed to be big. You would think if they're big, a hole like this isn't going to be able to fit them.
But I don't know, maybe if you're an elf, you know how to get around places. Hi, hi. I don't see anything moving around in there. The least I'd hope we could see is some type of animal or something. I don't see anything. So, once again, just to show you guys this isn't all BS, seems like some people here even left some offerings to the elves to eat. So you'll see there's some apples and some like cinnamon twists or bread or something. And I can assure you, I did not put them there. That was already here when we got here. So pretty interesting. Yeah, like I said, this is not just like a one person thing or something. This is pretty well known and well believed, at least by the locals around here. I will say that, like, just let alone based on like appearance, this park does have like a sense of mysticism about it. Like, there is a lot of interesting little rock outcroppings and formations, but I can't say we've had any definitive evidence of elves here yet. I mean, even down here, there's like some little caves that you guys can kind of see. Stick my camera a little closer in there. Hi, hi. Any elves? Hi, hi. Not really getting anything. Well, I'm sorry I'm not coming at night to do this, but because like we're at Iceland in July, the midnight sun is currently in effect, where basically you only get 4 hours of darkness the whole day, and even then it's not even like real darkness. There's a cave right here. Can stick our camera in a little, see if we get anything. Hi, hi. Come on, elves. It's pretty deep. I don't see anything. I don't think there's any snakes in Iceland, so we don't have to be too worried about doing this. But if there's any elves in here, right now would be the time to say something to me. Hi, hi. Come on, elves. I don't know if we're gonna get a response, guys. I'm not sure what else to do at the elf park of Iceland. Well, unless they're hiding from me, I gotta say, I'm not too sure if there are any real elves here. But who knows, maybe you guys should come here and try for yourself to see if you see any elves.